on? Peace and welcome. I was about to say to the Remix Morning Show. Jesus, where am I? What day is it? What is my name? It's me, Kamal Franklin. I'm here to. It's the ear doctor on the ones and twos. That's who's in here. That's who's in here. The funny thing is, all y'all know who I'm talking about because remixers are Fire Fam too. And I'd like to welcome the Fire Fam to Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We do this every Tuesdays and Fridays, talking about news, politics, black woman shit. We appreciate you guys being in here with us and always making the time. I've got a good show in store for the folks them on today. Going to be talking about several things. This is going to be one of those shows where all my topics is everywhere. They're everywhere. It's everywhere. Oh, don't mind this. I don't know what this is on my head. I don't know what I was thinking. I attempted to use. I have this thing called an electric brush, and so think of like a hot comb, but it's electric and it's a brush, right? And it kind of, I don't know what it does. This is not laid. I can't say it laid my hair down. I don't know what it did. It froed it up, which is fine because I'm here for the all the froage and such. So I'm not so much bothered. As long as y'all don't care, I don't care. And it's not like, oh, I don't care about my appearance. No, I'm very comfortable and confident in who I am, how I look, and confident in how I come across. So if anybody wants to judge me, suck it. Don't care. Bushy hair, don't care. Love it. Anyway, thank you guys for being in here. Do me a favor, come on in, engage with the content, like, share, subscribe, do all the algorithmic shit. And real quick, I want to announce something that not just we doing here, we in the world, because we are the world, we are the children, we are the ones that make a brighter day. So let's start living. There's a choice we're making. Oh, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we need a better day. Just you and me. You have to have been born in at least 1980 to understand we are the world. if y'all was born in the 90s, I know y'all don't know. Oh, wait, they did the shit on Netflix, so y'all do know. So let me shut up. So anyway, we are the world, we are the children. And one of our world children, one of our grown-ups actually doing extremely grown woman business is the good sis Ricky Ryan, Erica Canes over there, who joins us on Women's Wednesdays on the Remix Morning Show. Erica is a very active organizer in the DC Baltimore region. She is on the coordinating committee for Black Alliance for Peace. She puts in work out here in these streets. And you guys, Ricky Ryan is out here putting incredible work out here in these streets with no wheels, which if you live in the DC region, you have to understand it is very easy to put 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles on a car or in a ride if you have to go from the middle of the DC Baltimore area to DC and back and go up to Baltimore and then come back to the middle of the DC Baltimore area. You can put 50 to 100 miles in a day. Very simple. So I don't know how Ricky's doing this without a car. So when I asked her, I said, how are you doing this without a car? She said, ride shares, they get expensive. And I said, man, like that is a better way. I think we can apply some of those resources is to get Ricky a car. So Will, if you could please put the link up on the screen. I asked Ricky's permission for this. Ricky did not ask me or anybody to get her a car. And to be clear, it's not going to be me to get her a car. It's going to be us that get Ricky a car, you guys. So and you got the link up? What's going on? Put the link up. Please and thank you, so people don't think I'm out here trying to run a scam.
I have the link in the chat.
Oh, we'll put it up on screen too, baby.
All right.
Thank you very much. Will has dropped the link in the chat, beloveds. GoFundMe. Go in there, click that link. Is right there in the chat. So the goal is to get Ricky a ride. We pimp her ride. And we've set what I would call an ambitious goal of $5,000. Now, my intention again, if we get anywhere close to 5,000, we are winning. But my intention is to get Ricky a reliable vehicle. And trust me, good reliable vehicles can be got out here for 1,500 to 2,500, right? But I wanted to also raise some money to help her out with insurance, etc. Because having a car is expensive, and I know you guys all know that. And I hope nobody is in the chat. Well, nobody trying to help me get a car. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. The reason that we are supporting Ricky here is because Ricky does the work that many of us can't do. You know what I mean? She really does. So I think it's not really a big ask for the community. And I meant to launch to push this morning on the Remix Morning Show, but I forgot. But we will be dropping it tomorrow on Women's Wednesdays on the Remix Morning Show. And in terms of a timeline, well, I guess whenever we hit our goal, or if we get anywhere close to our goal, whatever. And I think I have that bulleted in the GoFundMe, by the way, etc. But Ricky's birthday is August. This is the beginning of June. If we 2 months, you guys, you think we can get together 2,500, 3K somewhere in there in 2 months? I think we can. I think we can. Between the Fire Fam and the Remixers, I think we can absolutely do that. So Will has dropped the chat. He's dropped the link in the chat. And if you got any bucks, it don't even matter how big or how small, though I implore the ballers amongst us. I implore the ballers amongst us to get into this GoFundMe and wrap this shit up quick. You feel me? Like, that would be dope. You know what I'm saying? I know we got some ballers. We got some ballers in here. I mean, I ain't balling, but I think I don't even think I attract ballers. So maybe we don't got no ballers. But regardless, any amount, big or small, is appreciated. And thank you so much in advance for supporting this. So we're going to be doing this for the next couple of months. So thank you guys in advance for your support. So my show tonight is going to consist of a couple things. We're going to check in as much as we are able to as to what's going on in Palestine with the siege on Rafah, the slaughter in Rafah ongoing. The Biden administration has offered up this fucking bogus peace plan. It's insanity. Absolute insanity continues to be happening in Gaza, and we can't turn away. So we're going to look into what's going on there. Also, I have a story that I want to bring you that was influenced or inspired by a TikTok that I saw. And there's several interesting genres happening on TikTok right now. And one of them is survivors of abuse and assault coming forward and telling their stories. And some of these stories are told graphically because what happened to them was graphic. So in this TikTok, this young Black woman details being sexually propositioned by a male family member. And when the young woman reported this to her family, not to the authorities, and reported to the authorities for fucking what? But she told her family, and her family gaslit her and I ostracized her. And it turns out the family member who had inappropriately propositioned her was recently arrested for propositioning underage girls. And I said, wow. And this the accused was a basketball coach. So I want us to take another look again, continue. This is something I'm going to be doing ongoing. Like, I'm sorry, we need to know who the regular ass abusers are in the community too, kids. Yes, we know Diddy. Yes, we know Russell. Yes, we know the famous ones, the R. Kellys, the Weinsteins, this one, that one. But we need to know Coach Johnson too. You understand? Like, as much as we know Diddy abuses, we need to know about the regular folks that interact and we deal with in our everyday lives in the communities and in our neighborhoods. So we'll get into that. But first, I wanted to start with the toxicity of our city. Do me a favor, gang. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, consider some channel membership, or you can join us at patreon.com/BIDWKB. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown, Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern. So with all this talk surrounding the election, Trump just got convicted.
If Trump gets elected, then democracy is over. Ah!
Okay. Democracy died long time ago. And for certain communities in this rotten colony, democracy never existed in the first fucking place. So please miss me with all this. The sky is falling if Trump gets reelected. The kind of democracy that these people want to protect is one that insists on poisoning its residents, its citizenry, and poisoning it seemingly with no repercussion for the poisoners. There's a handful of stories here that I'm going to bring you guys tonight, and they all sort of relate to mercury poisoning and PFAS. We're familiar with PFAS, which are the forever chemicals that is used in thousands of products and that we touch still every day. PFAS is still being manufactured, by the way. It's fun times, fun times. But the way that mercury is specifically poisoning communities of color, I think needs to be addressed. And not only poisoning folks in the United States, but I have news on a lawsuit that was filed by First Nations peoples in Canada, suing the provincial government and the federal government for a number of reasons. We're going to get into that story here in just a second, but I wanted to start here stateside in Tennessee. And this is a story that I saw. Shout out to the Tennessee Holler on Twitter. Tennessee Holler is definitely a left-leaning media outlet, independent media outlet, citizen journalism. They do a really good job of covering the Tennessee legislature and covering a variety of issues in Tennessee, but they picked this story from a local media outlet in Tennessee talking about the lawsuit filed recently by workers in Charleston, Tennessee, alleging that their workplace contaminated them, their persons, their bodies, their hair, their clothes with mercury, and now they are sick. They are sick. In the 21st century, in the year 2024, corporations are still legally allowed to poison us. So I'm sorry, democracy for whom? Will, if we could get into that story, please, detailing the lawsuit coming out of Charleston, Tennessee.
It affects his daily life.
Can we start it from the beginning?
Jonkins says the mercury impaired his memory to a point that it affects his daily life.
I come to a traffic light, it may turn red, or it may already be red, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should go, stop, or what.
LaMotta McMahon says his exposure has affected his relationship with his family. He says his mental health is declining, and he's only able to sleep 2 to 3 hours a night.
I don't like being around people anymore. I like staying to myself, and I do all the time. I don't go around my family much. I stay mostly in the bedroom watching TV.
Some employees fear the exposure didn't stop with them.
You come home and you still got mercury on you because you never can get all that mercury off of you. It's everywhere. It could be in your ears, it could be in your hair, even after you wash.
Eva Van Hook said she would sometimes sleep in her son's bed after work while covered in mercury.
He was diagnosed with executive functioning issues. I believe that by me sleeping in his bed certainly had an effect of these issues.
Their claims make up this massive lawsuit, but the debate's been going on for years. In 2010, Olin converted the Charleston plant's manufacturing to be mercury-free, and at the time, the CEO said he saw a steady increase in the number of customers who were unwilling to accept products manufactured using mercury cell technology. Reporting in Charleston, AC Barker, News Channel 9.
Olin has not had to file their response to the lawsuit claims in court yet. That will happen in mid-July. In the meantime, one of their attorneys sent us a statement saying, quote, Olin remains relentlessly focused on the safety of our employees, environment, and communities. We look forward to addressing the lawsuit allegations in the courtroom, close quote.
So the story goes on to say that between 1962 and 2012, at the Charleston plant in Tennessee, that the oh, I'm sorry, in the north end of Bradley County, and this is also in Tennessee. It said Ola used what's called the quote the chloroalkyl uh monumentumus. I'm sorry. We all have a little ear doctor in us. Manumission processes, which is a way to make chlorine. Okay. And then it said it was first tried in the late 19th century, which is interesting because this is a practice that was done at this particular plant up until 2012. So we're talking about over 50 years worth of doing a harmful process of manumission. Lord, that's not the word. I can't pronounce the shit. But anyway, so now you have these workers who still in the 21st century are being exposed to mercury despite the company's assertions that they have stopped using mercury in their products as of several years ago. But the health effects suffered by these workers, and I would imagine it by extension in the community there, Bradley County, in the north end of Bradley County, Charleston, Tennessee, are likely still dealing with some effects of this. And I wanted to point that out because another lawsuit has been filed, and this one was filed today, June 4th, in Canada, right? Canada. Everyone thinks Canada. Cuddly, less threatening America. That is so false. Canada's got great branding, by the way. I don't know why people think that Canada's somehow a little less imperialisty than Los Estados Unidos, but that is not the case. Because as a Commonwealth of Britain and all kinds of shit, yes, the Canadians were wholly complicit in the genocide and removal and theft of land and resources from Canada's First Nation people, the Indigenous folks there. And for decades in Northern Ontario, this is going to be sort of on the border of Ontario and Manitoba, but in the north of the province. Will, if you could pop up the Toronto Star piece for me, please. This First Nations community has been living in the shadow of industrialization for almost a century, right? Coming close up on to a century. And in the 1950s and 60s, there was a paper mill located upriver from this First Nations community, okay? And the paper mill, for a decade plus, actually, dumped 9,000 kilograms of mercury into the river. And not only did the Canadian government have knowledge of this, um, their failure to protect the First Nation there allowed for Canada to be in violation of a treaty that they had signed agreeing to protect the inherent fishing rights of these folks. And for over 50 years, as this community was sounding the alarm about the mercury contamination, not only of their river, which they fished out of, which was part of their long held cultural practice to rely on the river for food sustenance, the soil has also been contaminated there. And as you can imagine, with long term mercury exposure, mercury is a neurotoxin. It affects all your organs in a bad way. There's no benefit nutrition wise. Like it ain't, it ain't got no good carbohydrates and shit in the mercury. It's bad for you, right? Shouldn't ingest it. It's bad for kids, bad for the developing brain, bad for. So since 1970, this First Nations community has been sounding the alarm. The Canadian government has not been responsive. So now, on today, June 4th, a lawsuit has been filed suing the province of Ontario and suing the Canadian government federally. We're talking about the Grassy Narrows First Nation folks. And I think the first clip we're going to hear, so there's two clips here. The first clip we're going to hear is going to be describing the lawsuit, and this is from Global News. I thought this was a pretty well done package. So let's listen to that first. But the second, yeah, we got some clips here because you guys got to hear from these folks. Y'all got to hear from these folks. So let's go to the first clip announcing the lawsuit, and this comes after the grassy pardon me, the Grassy Nations folks. I'm sorry, the Grassy Narrows, not nations, the Grassy Narrows First Nations. They commissioned a study on how much mercury was in the river. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, the results of this study were announced. And let me say, okay, so I already said the paper mill company dumped 9,000 kilograms of mercury into the river. They stopped putting mercury into the river, but instead, in their wastewater, contained high levels of sulfate. Okay. So even though they had stopped putting the mercury directly into the river, they were instead now adding, disposing of their sulfate wastewater also into the river. So because the mercury has not been remediated in any way, like mercury is chilling, okay? Like mercury is not breaking down quickly in any way in any organic compound. You know what I'm saying? So the sulfate, when it hits the river water contaminated with mercury, it turns it into methyl mercury, which is the most toxic, harmful contaminant on the mercury spectrum. Okay. The whites didn't just make it bad, they made it fucking worse. So let's listen to the announcement of this lawsuit from the our folks up there, the Grassy Nations folks. Why does he keep saying Grassy Nations? Because I'm a doofus. So anyway, Will, let's take a listen to the package, please. Thank you.
Grassy Narrows First Nation
Narrows.
officially serving the Ontario government a statement of claim. The First Nation suing the province of Ontario and the federal government for what it says is harm caused by mercury contamination in the river dating back 6 decades, arguing the governments have failed to protect against or remedy the effects of mercury in their water.
And our people continue to eat the fish that's on the river. We keep hoping that one day the river will be cleaned up.
The Crown is the one who's regulating the mill. The Crown is the one that has the power to stop this mill from contaminating.
In May, a study commissioned by Grassy Narrows, conducted by the University of Western, found discharge from the nearby Dryden paper mill was contaminating the Wabigoon River. The mill is upstream from Grassy Narrows, a community of fewer than 1,000 people near the Ontario-Manitoba border. The community already plagued with a history of mercury poisoning since the 1960s, and now high levels of methyl mercury have been found in the water system as well.
If it was somewhere else, especially where there's a bigger population, where there's more people, I believe the government would act immediately and they would do much better than what they've done to us.
We've been waiting for this for so long, for our people that have suffered from the effects of mercury since 1960s.
The provincial and federal governments claim there's been a decades-long effort to help clean up the river system, but according to this recent report, they have not been successful. The lawyer representing Grassy Narrows says they're looking for justice.
I think you can imagine that there is a lot of distrust amongst the people of Grassy Narrows, and that many believe that it's time to shut down the mill.
We reached out to Dryden Fiber Mill, the provincial and federal governments, and did not hear back in time for deadline. Both levels of government now have 60 days to file a statement of defense. None of the allegations in this lawsuit have been tested in court. Jaden Lee Lincoln, Global News.
Global News Canada, their Grassy Narrows First Nations people. It's all the ends. It's the alliteration. I can't handle it. but yes, the Grassy Narrows folks have been poisoned, knowingly poisoned for decades. Multi-generations have been suffering the effects of mercury poisoning. And you guys can imagine what that looks like. Did you guys see the latest season of True Detective on HBO with Jodie Foster and a native actress. I'm sorry, I can't call her name. When I heard this story about what's going on with the Grassy Narrows people, it put me immediately in the frame of mind of that. If you haven't seen the latest season of True Detective, it's worth watching. So anyway, the plot line is this company is researching the effects of global warming and permafrost, but there was a chemical contaminant plant in the town in Alaska, and the scientists told the chemical plant to pollute more to hasten the melting of the permafrost so they could continue their research. And then the First Nations people came and got with the motherfuckers in an amazing way. It's I hope I didn't give it away. Go watch the shit anyway. It's definitely worth watching. But to give you guys a little bit more historical context, because again, this is to me that this is Navajo Nation. This is fucking East Baltimore. This is Flint, Michigan. This is Jackson, Mississippi. This is everywhere. This is everywhere. This is what capitalism has borne onto us, right? We got to fight for democracy so we can keep getting poisoned. Okay, hold on. Let me get back to the Grassy Narrows folks, because the story here is interesting. So this story, same outlet, but this covers this happened, I think, 4 years ago. Yes, and we've got some testimony. I think this is what this is. Yes, this is from some of the elders of the Grassy Narrows First Nation. And 4 years ago, again, when they were trying to petition the Canadian government to do something, okay, the Canadian government has violated its treaty rights with these folks because the Canadian government failed to protect the sanctity of the river, of which the folks rely on for their food source. And because Canada said, well, fuck them brown people, as Canada has been saying, fuck them brown people for a long time, they allowed this paper mill plant and other industry and mining along the river to continue unabated. If Canada was interested in helping the Grassy Narrows folks, they would have shut the fucking plants down. But why do that under capitalism? Why stop the thing that's poisoning the folks when we can make money? Shit. So I want us to hear testimony from one of the Grassy Nation's elders as of 4 years ago. And it's almost hard to listen to, but you need to hear it. Okay, because number one, these people want us to hear what has happened to them, but also the amount of time that these folks knew they were being poisoned before it was acknowledged by the provincial government, by the federal government. They was like, oh, these Indians is crazy. I don't know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And the Canadian government has actually taken some steps here. I don't think they're adequate, but I'm gonna come back and tell you what the government has actually decided to do, even before the announcement of this lawsuit. But let's listen to one of the Grassy Narrows elders talk about the multi-generational effects of mercury poisoning that has impacted his people in an irreparable way. Let's take a listen.
I have mercury poisoning too. My parents had mercury poisoning. They all died. And all my brothers have mercury poisoning, and they have died. Now I'm sort of the last oldest one within our generation. And my kids have mercury poisoning. My grandkids have mercury poisoning. It's not healthy for my family. When you have mercury, you have it for life. They haven't found a cure for it at this very moment. Like right now, I'm hanging on to this place just to allow me to stand properly. It affects your nerves. It affects your taste, your hearing, your vision, and then you're very vulnerable. If there's any kind of flu going on, you're likely to get it. I'm also a diabetic on top of that. And I've seen a lot of my people back home suffering to this very day. Some of them had to be sent away, like Thunder Bay, a day trip to go and visit them at least once a month. If we had this mercury home, we would have it locally. And that, I know they'll never get better, but at least they'll be home with their families where we can really have a good life, remaining life for each of our families and children. You've heard about two of our recent leaders, Simon and Steve, who passed on not too long ago. They were the champion of our community since mercury was discovered in 70. But they dumped about 10 tons of mercury, whether in the 50s and 60s. It's there now. And now we're just trying to do our very best to try and remain healthy. The home will be a thing that the government can provide for us. You know, it's not that we want millions and millions of dollars. It's a home where we can be at home with our families, that they will visit them for last remaining days of their lives. Good afternoon, everyone. God bless you.
Are you Simon's brother?
Cousin.
Cousin.
He's my cousin, yeah. And so was Steve, was my cousin.
What was it like for Simon to have to die in Thunder Bay after he spent so many years advocating for the creation of this center?
It's not a very good thing to witness, because I've known them all my life. And they were strong leaders. But it seemed like they were still plugging away, even when they were sick. That's how determined they are. They were. And that's how determined we are here today. You heard our youth. He has symptoms as a young man already too. We see that every day. It's not an issue that we take lightly.
And you said you yourself are dealing with the impact of mercury contamination. Are you concerned that you may end up in Thunder Bay away from your community if this mercury home isn't built?
That's my greatest fear. I've never lived anywhere else in my whole life. I would sooner see something within my home so my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids can visit me. That's, I think, a couple of my older grandchildren are in Fort Francis, and their parents have to make special appointment to see them at least once or twice a year. That's not fair. It's a good 6-8 hour drive one way, and we don't have the finances to do it. They would like to be with them. You should see when they see this, when they see me, they just, their face lit up. Not only my side of the family, but I've seen others that I know in the community. There's today people in the hospital today struggling. I imagine that's part of the mercury problem. Just like what I said, we're very vulnerable when you have mercury in your system. It kills something within you that's supposed to fight off any disease. I tried to tell that to the doctors that no, they don't seem to want to answer it, or they may know it, but I don't think they're told not to say too much about it.
She looked.
with deliberation, with honesty, with pain and heartbreak and sadness, but still a desire to persevere in order to be there for not only his family and his community. So here's the thing. We need to overturn it all, right? I mean, let's be clear. Whatever the empire is doing all the things. What Canada is doing to First Nations people, what the United States is doing to its Black people here, its Native people here, and also people around the world. How the United States continues to and its corporation, multinational corporations continue to go to Black and brown places everywhere, steal the resources, but definitely extract them unscrupulously. They dump the contaminants and the waste, but the waste byproducts into the rivers and streams and lakes and estuaries that indigenous folks around the world rely on. And the empire is allowing it to happen, even when, and I will say when, because I think all this shit is got to come crumbling down at some point. Even when the system eventually does fall, when capitalism does fall, when the empire is overturned, we are inheriting a petrochemical cesspool. Okay, the motherfucking capitalist whites have even poisoned their own shit. They poisoned their own shit. Like, it's madness. It is absolute madness. The aliens must think that we are a race or a species that is on a suicide mission, an unaliving mission. It's a death cult, is what not only America but capitalism is, because it is killing everything and everyone. So the First Nations people, let me see this. At least the Grassy Landing folks, Grassy Narrows. I'm sorry, Grassy Narrows First Nation. The Canadian government recently authorized the construction of the Mercury home that the elder was speaking about there. So what am I talking about? The Grassy Narrows folks, for decades, literally, as he mentioned, some of the folks that have transitioned, the activists and those who have been fighting on behalf of getting some sort of justice for the nation, for the First Nation. They were able to get the Canadian government to agree, I think, to a $65 million, $70 million Mercury home, which is sort of like a respite home, a convalescent home for those that are suffering the long-term medical effects of mercury, to be able to remain there on the land instead of going to Thunder Bay, which is I know we got Mama Lorraine in the building. Mama Lorraine, tell the people them about Thunder Bay. Like in northern Ontario, like northern Canada, the cities get smaller and smaller, right? So Thunder Bay is like a big little city, right? And apparently that is where the Grassy Narrows folks have had to go seek some treatment and unfortunately go there to pass away. They don't want to pass away in Thunder Bay, not being believed by the Canadian doctors, right? They would rather stay close to their family and stay close to their land. So now, after decades of fighting and organizing for the funding for this Mercury home, the funding has been authorized. Now, how in the hell, who knows how fucking long it's going to take the fucking Canadian government to get this home up and running. But now they've got the added pressure of this lawsuit, which is good because they deserve to be sued. But here's the thing. It doesn't even matter. I won't say it doesn't matter. It does matter if they win. I know a lot of people find some solace in what the West defines as justice, right? If you have a victory in a courtroom, that is somehow supposed to equate to justice, which I disagree with vehemently, because there is no justice. You can't justify. Well, I don't see how the justice comes in poisoning literally 6 generations worth of a single folk, right? Like there is not a dollar amount you can put on that. There's not a dollar amount you can put on these people suffering. There probably isn't a realistic dollar amount that the Canadian government or these corporations that polluted the river, there's probably not a dollar amount that they're willing to pony up to remediate the mercury out of the fucking riverbed, right? Let me say this again. the Dresden paper mill that sits on the river that runs through the Grassy Narrows First Nations land, they are still emitting sulfate. They are not emitting mercury. The mercury's already there. 10,000 tons worth, 9,000 kilograms worth of mercury, still chilling, not breaking down, because mercury can last long fucking time. So when the sulfate hits the river that's already full of mercury, it makes like super fucking mercury, methyl mercury. Oh my gosh, the atrocities that that all of us continue to suffer. And let me keep taking us different places around here. You guys do me a favor, continue to engage with the content, give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate everyone that is watching us live now on YouTube, on Twitch, BIDWKB. Shout out to those watching us on Facebook as well, and Twitter at Burn It Down KB. Give me your comments. Will's going to put them up on the screen. Thank you guys so very much. While looking up, a little bit more information about the mercury poisoning, I came across this piece from a group called Amazon Watch. And no, not Jeff Bezos Amazon, the actual Amazon, the lungs of the world, right? I hate the fact that the fucking amazing Amazon jungle now shares a name with the worst goddamn corporation ever to exist. The Amazon jungle, awesome. The Amazon corporation, the apocalypse, like the worst of the fucking worst. It's crazy. So a group called Amazon Watch wanted to bring to folks' attention the prevalence of illegal mining in the Amazon jungle that accelerated under Jair Bolsonaro when he was president. You know, Brazil's Trump. They had their own Trump. Everybody got a Trump after we got Trump, right? Motherfucking Britain got Boris Johnson. And fucking Brazil got Bolsonaro. Everybody got him a Trump. How'd that go? So anyway, Bolsonaro opened up the goddamn jungle to miners, to illegal logging, to poachers, to the worst of the worst. Now, there are indigenous communities that remain in the jungle, and they depend on the jungle as they have for thousands of years. But here come capitalism. Not new to Brazil, by the way. The capitalism has been R-wording Brazilian resources for centuries now. But the harmful nature specifically of the illegal mining and how it has impacted, again, generations of indigenous people in Brazil also is something worth noting. So, Will, let's take a look at this piece from Amazon Watch.
At the beginning of 2023, Brazil declared an emergency over the deaths of Yanomami children from malnutrition. The shocking images of death and destruction of the Yanomami people and their lands that swept the world re-established a tragedy foretold. Illegal miners have been poisoning rivers with mercury and wrecking the Amazon rainforest for years, bringing armed violence, sexual abuse, and illnesses. As illegal mining flourished in Brazil during Bolsonaro's regime, a grave humanitarian crisis emerged in Yanomami territory. At least 570 Yanomami children are reported to have died of malnutrition and preventable diseases during Bolsonaro's administration. Amazon Watch has repeatedly denounced the impacts of illegal mining in the Amazon and on indigenous peoples and their territories, including the increase of violence and destruction within Yanomami territory. In addition to direct support for the Yanomami, we also drew a line between the crimes being committed on their lands and the complicity of global actors. Lula has promised to end illegal mining, and we will continue to apply pressure together with our allies to ensure this happens in all indigenous territories.
Yeah, interesting report there from Amazon Watch. And I have read stories about Lula da Silva, president of Brazil, again making claims that he intends to crack down on illegal miners, etc., and especially the poisoning, the contamination, the polluting of indigenous lands and indigenous spaces within the Amazon jungle. I guess that kind of sounds weird because the whole fucking jungle's an indigenous space. So anyway, but we will see where the rubber hits the road. It's only been a year since that particular piece, and I'm not sure how much progress could be done in a year given the extent of the problem. But I will trust those activists that have been lifting up their voices and supporting the Yanomami people on this issue to tell us is Lula doing any better? Because ultimately, liberals and conservatives, whoever is in the elected, head honcho at the moment, I mean, they usually go along with, in some ways, with this kind of industry, because ultimately it feeds the capitalist beast. And whether or not Lula is going to be as bad as Bolsonaro, likely not. But again, is Biden as bad as Trump? Yeah. Yes, in different ways, in varying ways. I don't trust whatever the opposition of conservative is necessarily. What I mean by that, as the positioning of liberal does not mean good. Liberal does not mean progress is being taken. Liberal does not mean that radical steps are being enacted to combat an extremely radical and problem. So, in addition to, you guys, what's happening in Charleston, Tennessee, what's happening in Northern Ontario to the Grassy Narrows people, what's happening to the indigenous folks in Brazil, what do these things all have in common? Well, they seem to be primarily happening to the most marginalized and vulnerable folks among us, indigenous folks and black folks. We love seeing y'all. we love seeing all of our native folks down here at the bottom with us. It's like, oh, what's up? What's going on with you again? Yeah, we down here at the bottom together. And this is what capitalism is doing to us. So we have to, again, dissuade our folks in many ways. And I know folks are going to be like, well, Kim, that was Brazil and Canada. That's not happening. Yes, it is happening in the fucking US. We're seeing it right now. A lot of different places. In the Southwest in Indian country. It's happening in the Jeto, in pick a Jeto, pick a urban Jeto, pick a rural Jeto. Like, where ain't it happening? This is not a democracy I'm trying to uphold, everybody. Like, the only freedom we have is the freedom to be fucked by capitalism, by industry, by our government. Okay. Now, yes, I understand shit's gonna get rough under Trump presidency 2.0. I understand that. But this is not anything worth upholding for any of us. And Joe Biden doesn't take any of this away. Joe Biden doesn't do anything to help us. Let me bring you one last story in this chemical contamination of communities segment here. Well, if you could pop up the ProPublica piece for me. Because ProPublica was circulating this piece, this investigative piece, around last week. And I took a gander at it. It's pretty lengthy. At your convenience, Will, drop it in the chat. Shout out to our mods. Big up to Court. What's up to Latif? What's up to Tyler? Thank you guys so much. Somebody drop this joke in the chat, please, and thank you. Because I want you guys to read this. The headline says, how 3M executives convinced a scientist that the forever chemicals she found in human blood was safe. Okay, or were safe. Let me get my grammar right. Actually, no, I'm gonna say was safe because I'm here to fuck up the English language at every chance. So anyway, fascinating piece that focuses on a young chemist by the name of Chris Hansen, not the to catch a molester, not of To Catch a Predator fame, not that Chris Hansen. This is a Lady Chris Hansen, working at 3M in Minnesota. She's a chemist, working as a chemist. In 1997, according to the ProPublica piece, into her lab walks her supervisor, who posed her what she considered at the time a weird request. He wanted her to test multiple samples of human blood for the chemical contaminant of the PFAS. Now, guys, I am not about to lay out that multisyllabic, all of the PFAS in the PCOs and all that. Y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about. And if you want the scientific name, go look that shit up. Okay, but you know what I'm talking. We using all acronyms. Dig it? So her supervisor came into her lab and asked her to conduct these tests because the company 3M had gotten back some quizzical results and they weren't sure about what they were looking at. So amongst the blood, okay, by the way, 3M, by the way, for those that don't know, produces chemicals, okay? Related, not these are separate companies, but the company DuPont, which is based in Delaware, which I'm pretty sure has given Joe Biden fuck ton of money over the past 50 years. But anyway, DuPont in 1938 invented Teflon, right? Non-stick shit that goes on your non-stick cookware, and it helps to repel liquids and stains, and shit just slides around on the Teflon. Everybody knows what Teflon is, right? So anyway, DuPont got those chemicals, or at least the chemical compound technology, from 3M. And 3M continued to make interesting, so-called helpful everyday products like Post-it notes, like sandpaper, like sponges. 3M makes all kinds of shit, but they also make these forever chemicals. So when the senior chemist came into junior chemist Chris Hansen's laboratory, he said that they were finding PFAS, or these forever chemical elements, in the blood of people that did not work at the 3M plant. So 3M apparently conducted routine tests, not only of their employees, but I guess we're testing other shit, right? Go read the article. Go read the article if you wanted to be precise. But long story short, the company was concerned because this specific chemical compound was being discovered in the blood of people who were not 3M factory employees. And the company was curious. They didn't understand it. They're like, how could this chemical be showing up in people's blood that don't work here when it's only, workers that get exposed to this? So they tasked Chris Hansen with doing all kinds of tests. And she was able to procure human blood samples from over 100 people. In fact, another reason that the senior chemist came to her with this assignment is because 3M was made aware from the American Red Cross that they were finding this chemical contaminant in their blood samples, and they didn't understand why. Like, why? Like, we're screening the blood for all the things, and we're finding this thing in our blood donations, and this thing is your thing, 3M. So what the fuck? That's not an exact quote. So anyway, Chris Hansen gets on the job. She's a young woman. She's out here trying to prove herself. She starts doing the testing. She's procuring blood samples. She's testing. She's finding it. She's finding the chemical compound. She's reporting back to her supervisor and to the higher ups at 3M. Like, yeah, I'm procuring these samples from this place, this place, this place. Every human blood sample we're finding has this chemical contaminant in it. Did 3M take action? Did they say, well, good job, Chris, thanks for we're about to take action on this? They said, Chris, are you sure? Because you're just a dumb bitch. After all, like, you're just a girl. Like, is your equipment working? Okay, again, go read the article. I'm paraphrasing here. But no, the company lit the fuck out of her. Okay? They told her to check her equipment. They told her to clean her shit to make sure that, the samples weren't getting some sort of outside contamination. They replaced her. What's the tool? It's called an electromass spectrometer. I hope I'm saying that right. That helps to measure chemical compounds and the weight of chemical compounds. They believe that her equipment was faulty. They ended up buying her 3 of them motherfuckers. Okay, they bought her 3 mass spectrometers because the company refused to believe that all of these random blood samples from humans contained their product. Okay, so of course it had to have been the dumb woman, right? It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been that she was finding what she said she was finding. So Shortly after, her results, her work has been unimpeachable. She's continuously finding this thing. Her boss, who came and asked her to do the initial test, oh, he retired. This nigga said, oh, this looks bad. I'm out. I like to thank 3M for, the years of this nigga chunked up the deuces and said, I don't want to be nowhere around when this shit happens. This was in 97, y'all. The ProPublica piece goes on to detail that the company 20 years prior, so in the late 70s, the company had already done chemical testing on animals, on rats, on monkeys. What they found is when exposed to these chemical compounds that comprise PFAS, not only the mammals, the rats, the monkeys, the test animals, not only did they get sick real quick, but they died. They died at relatively low levels of exposure. Okay. So that's what happened there. One other interesting fun fact finding from the company's animal testing. When they were doing the testing on rats to, check the effects of the PFAS in the blood and in the systems of these rats, they found actually that the female rats had a significantly less amount of PFAS in their bodies, in their blood, compared to the male rats. And Chris Hansen, the chemist, to her horror, wait, was this her? Well, anyway, so they discovered, so what was the reason? Why were the female rats having less of this chemical compound in their bodies than the male rats? Well, because the female rats, fun fact, once they were pregnant and with rat child, they were passing on good amounts of those contaminants onto their fetuses. What's a rat? What's an unborn rat? Is that a fetus too? You know what? I'm not having this conversation with the unborn rats. So that's how the women rats, the female rats, were able to have their levels of the PFAS reduced, is when they were with baby rats. I got to get off of this because I can't talk. So that's a scary thing. So, but basically, you guys are understanding that in mammals, when these chemical compounds are found in mammals, of course, they will be passed along to the offspring. Okay, a mammal's a mammal's a mammal. That's why they test on rats and monkeys and shit, because the shit that happens in rats and monkeys happens in people. So 3M had knowledge of this since at least the 70s, confirmed to have knowledge of this since at least the 90s. And they were able to sit on this, and they were able to keep this information confidential. And in recent years, the Environmental Protection Agency has tried to crack down on PFAS. Nigga, too fucking late. So anyway, they're cracking down on PFAS. And 3M has vowed that it will stop producing PFAS by the year 2025. Oh, yes, kids, you heard that right. 3M is still producing PFAS today. 3M is also being sued by a number of towns, municipalities, suing, and not just 3M, but other companies, other industries, other corporations are being sued by local folks about the contamination. Okay. And to be honest, the federal government, all of the previous administrations going back to Nixon, or maybe even longer than that, but please retroactively sue the Nixon, Carter, Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, Trump, Biden. Sue all these fuckers. Because once you get your democracy, everybody, once you're able to uphold your democracy, you can take that down, Will. Once democracy is saved once again, what do you get? What happens when you turn on the faucet? What is your government doing to protect your health and well-being? Not only you, but of your descendants. Okay. What's the government doing? Even for the wealthy whites, what's going on? I mean, I'm talking about the super wealthy. I'm talking about the Elons and the Peter Thiels and all them fucking bitch niggas. I'm talking about even like the wealthy whites that live, I don't fucking know. Everywhere is contaminated. Lots of the toxicity of our city, You, what do you own the world? How do you own disorder? Disorder. No. So let me calm down. I was about to go full surge on y'all, and y'all not ready, and half of y'all don't even know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Shout out to System of a Down. I have been a little remiss in bringing environmental justice stories as of late. I'm going to do way better. And when I heard about this lawsuit, again announced today, June 4th, by the Grassy Narrows folks, I said, this is an ongoing fight. This is a permanent struggle that colonized people around the world, people that are suffering at the hands of capitalism and industry. These are ongoing fights that we have number one, these have been waged for generations, and unfortunately, they're going to have to be waged for generations longer. And I don't know how we cease to continue to give these people power, but it has to happen. It has to happen. And again, as much as we find Trump repulsive, and he is repulsive, he's a whole piece of shit, he may be a useful idiot in all of this. Like, Trump may have some utility. If he could convince the other whites to abandon any sort of hope in the system. Well, I know, but they're violent. I know what y'all saying. I can hear y'all already. Like, but maybe we could try to ally with these racist motherfuckers if they were to fully understand the desperation and the direness of their situation. But the problem is they stay drunk off whiteness. They just glad not to be niggas, right? Because they know niggas got it worse, right? Or they believe that, and they not all the way wrong, but they don't understand that they could have it better if we all squatted up against the fuckheads, against the powerful. So I hope we can get that together. But I wanted to bring you all the story. Please go check out the ProPublica piece and follow what's going on with the Grassy Narrows folks up there in Ontario. We wish them well in solidarity. Let me take a break here. Thank you all so much for viewing. I have no idea how many people are in the chat. I don't know what's going on with my phone. Every time so I discovered once that I had accidentally put it on airplane mode, but I'm like, but what does that have to do with the Wi-Fi? I don't know. When I try to get into the live on my phone from my goofy YouTube app, I get denied. I can't even get into my own fucking party. That shit is wild times. Wild times. I think I'm being digitally sabotaged, but you know what? I'm going to keep my conspiracy theories to myself on today. Because again, I feel sometimes like Ray Liotta out of goddamn Goodfellas. Like the helicopter is following me. So let me calm down. Shout out to everyone that is checking us out. Big up to the Fire fam. Come on in here. Buck. I want to call out names, but of course it'd be my luck. I'd be calling out the names of niggas that's not in here. But they will come see it later. So thank you all so much. I appreciate, by the way, the response that I've gotten from my Friday show. From the viewers, you guys have left fantastic and insightful comments, supportive comments as well. So I appreciate you guys engaging with my take on the conversation and helping to push the conversation onward and further. So I just wanted to thank you guys. And some of y'all left some comments that I intend to reply to, because even though they were a little critical, it's a criticism that I would like to respond to, because I have an answer. like somebody said, and I'm gonna reply to this under the comment, but I'll tell y'all. But somebody said that they were with me in my critique up until I compared men to Israelis and women to Palestinians, and I was a little confused as to why the commenter didn't understand that analogy, but I'll explain it. I use that comparison to demonstrate proportionality, right? Since October 7th, but definitely even before, the numbers of Palestinians killed by Israelis have dwarfed the number of Israelis killed by Palestinians, right? It's not even close. It's a lot to a little. It's not both sides. It's not they're killing the same amount. It's not even close. So I use that comparison of Israelis to men and Palestinians to women to demonstrate proportionality. But it's actually a more on the nose comparison than I thought initially, because hello, who makes up most IDF soldiers? I know is women in the armed forces too in Israel, but no, it's mostly men, right? Who has been on the receiving end of Israel's bombs, bullets, and missiles? It's been mostly Palestinian women and children. So in real life, men are slaughtering women and children, not just in the war zone, but in everyday so-called civilized society also. So again, I appreciate the comment. I appreciate everyone that has had things to say across the spectrum about Friday's show. I appreciate you guys very much. Quick reminder, it will be this Saturday for the disability support chat, the Around the Fire disability support chat. We do this, well, the girls, they have 3 chats a month, but we do the big one. We do the big one every second Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to Anna Hart, Mama Lorraine, and Learn Life Abby. We've been doing this for 2 years. I am a disabled creator. Disability is not fun. Being a caregiver can sometimes not be fun. And these are issues and concerns that we discuss at length, especially with some curated topics by our wonderful facilitators. So I will post that information on the community section Saturday morning on Patreon as well. So please come back and look for that come Saturday for the June Around the Fire Disability Support Chat. So let me get into my next story here. Do me a favor. Engage with the content. Like, share, subscribe. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown at BIDWKB, different places around the internet. So I've also gotten some criticism in the chat, not this chat, and not any chat, really. Well, no, some chats. Yes. But in the comments as well, that I'm a TikTok journalist. First of all, I'm not a TikTok creator. My arms are too short to box with the gods on TikTok at the moment. I might get in that TikTok eventually, but not at the but I am a consumer of TikTok, as are 150 million other people in this country and hundreds millions more around the world. It's the name of the game, everybody. It is an evolution of how information is presented, and love it or hate it, done the dogs on top. Okay, like TikTok is out here stomping fucking mud holes in Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them. So whatever. I try not to resist all the technology, but regardless. So, but I appreciate TikTok because number one, they have expanded the duration of their videos, so people are allowed to talk longer. And a phenomenon that has been happening, or a trend that has been happening on TikTok, has been people who have survived abuse, and this is including men, women, and gender nonconforming people. People have been sharing their stories of surviving abuse, and I came across, and it's painful and it's beautiful at the same time, because you see the release in the cathartic way in which folks have to name not only what happened to them, but who did it, right? Because that's part of the shame of surviving, especially something like sex abuse or even domestic violence, is that people keep it to themselves. They don't talk about it. They barely even report it, right? So when people find their space to be honest and tell their truth, it can be both beautiful and painful at the same time. And such is the case with this creator that I came across. And I'd actually like to play her video first, and I'd like to give content warning and trigger warnings for a description of inappropriate behavior. She was not touched per se, but she was propositioned by a family member for a sex act. She was being coerced, and she attempted to resist, and she attempted to inform her family members about what this other family member had said to her and what they were trying to pressure her into doing. And you can imagine how that went. Okay. but I'm gonna let her tell it. But like I said, content warning for descriptions of inappropriate behavior. This woman is a woman. I think she's in her mid-20s now, but the incident that she's going to describe happened when she was 16. And the reason I'm playing you guys this TikTok is because the person that she clearly names was arrested recently for similar behavior. So anyway, let's check out what this young lady had to say.
Hello, TikTok. I am ready to tell my story. This right here is Muhammad El Amin, my blood cousin, who I grew up in a household with, was raised by his mother, which is this woman right here, Tanja Parker. 10 years ago, I was 16. He was 26. He messaged me one night. We were home alone. He messaged me asking for a BJ. I don't know what words I can and cannot say on here, so I'm just going to do my best at saying what I can say. If you know what a BJ is, then you know. At this time, 10 years ago, I'm 16. I didn't know the term BJ meant, BLOWJOB. So he's asking me over the messages, and I'm just like creeped out. So I'm trying to make excuses, like I have to work tomorrow. I'm trying to go to sleep. Blase sweet. He's just going on and on. I finally stopped texting him and go to sleep. For some reason, the next day, his mom had him take me to work. I don't know what she had to do that day, but she's like, he's going to take you to work. He's going to pick you up. So he's taking me to work. We're in the car. He's just literally continuously on, like, begging me to give him a BJ. I'm like, no, I have to go to work. Trying to stall. So I'm at work. That's all I'm thinking about, you guys. Like, the only thing going through my head is, like, when he picks me up, what's about to happen. Like, that's the only thing going through my head. So my heart's just beating. I'm just scared, nervous, like all of the above. So I call his mother while I'm at work. I'm like, can you please not send Muhammad to get me from work? Can you please come get me and I'll talk to you about what's going on? I'm bawling my eyes out, mind you. We can go back to 10 years ago and go to that McDonald's and get the footage, the camera footage, and look at me that day. And you will see me bawling my eyes out, sitting in the lobby crying to her. I think I walked into the bathroom. I'm not for sure. Either or, you'll see me. I get off work. She comes. I'm in the car crying to her, explaining to her what he's done. She's acting like as if she's so disgusted in him and he's so nasty and she's so just, mad. So we're in the house. I'm like, don't give him any dirty looks. Don't make it obvious that I told on him, Just keep me monitored. So the whole time she's in the house giving him dirty looks, and I'm like, can you just stop? Like, you're making it so obvious. Like, can you not do that? So she sits me down on her bed. She reads all the messages, you guys. All the messages between me and him. She makes me, in front of her, delete every message out of my Facebook Messenger. She then makes me go onto my Yahoo where the messages transfer over to, and she tells me to delete all the messages out of my Yahoo. At the time, I'm 16. I'm not knowing that she's trying to make me delete everything so that there's no evidence of it. And she's really trying to protect him. I'm thinking she's just like, being a mom, So that was the first incident. I didn't realize that she was saving him until years later when I moved out. And she wouldn't take me off her case to get food stamps. I needed food stamps. I was living on my own. And she would not take me off her case. She was making it a hassle for me to get off her case. So I'm begging her and begging her. And she wouldn't take me off. So I'm like, we're going back and forth arguing. And I'm like, I hope your son doesn't touch my little sister, blah, 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 blah. She goes to really make up a whole storyline and say, for all I know, you took my son's phone and you wrote those messages yourself and sent them to yourself. This is the woman right here. This woman right here. She is just as guilty as her son. I just sit back and I let God do the work because the truth come to light every single time. So now, 10 years later, look at you. Look at you 10 years later. This man has played overseas basketball, you guys. This man is a coach at Holt Public High School in Lansing, Michigan, you guys. A basketball coach. to little kids. They let this man out on a PR bond. So yesterday I seen the article, I ended up sharing it, and I made my little post. As soon as I did that, I'm getting harassed by his whole family. Like, mind you, this is my blood family too. I did speak with his wife last night. She's basically on the edge of just, supporting him because that's her husband. But she listened to what I had to say. She's not, she's not saying my story's a lie. She's just trying to uplift him right now because she feels the story that's published is just going to crumble down and be nothing. But like I told her, at the end of the day, even if that story, it crumbles down to be nothing, the story has truth to it because my story is really true. What happened to me 10 years ago is true. I can go sit in front of a courthouse and take a lie detector test. I can literally do whatever. And I'm sure that he would decline because he knows the truth. She just went on about how her kids love him and he's never done anything with their kids. And I'm like, well, I loved him as a brother as well until what happened with me happened. And once that happened, there was no more looking at him as a brother figure, a cousin, or nothing. I don't know his wife like that. Only seen her a couple times. I just know that the family is not too fond of her. She did mention that as well. Me making this video is just to let the world know that this man is really what it says. There's no doubt about it. I want his face to be out there because I'm sure there's more victims out there that are scared to come up front. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be scared. We need this man to be behind bars. And his mother and siblings are just as guilty. They are sitting here protecting this man. It's sad.
Heavy. Part of what grabbed me about this young woman's story, and shout out to her for taking ownership of her own story and in the way that she wanted to share it and talk about it, in the way that she wanted to expose not only who attempted to harm her, but I guess even psychologically, that's got to give you some trauma when your fucking family member, your grown ass male family member, is propositioning you, a teen girl, for oral sex. Like, that obviously has to fuck with you in some way. Thank God he didn't touch her. But I appreciated her outing the woman enablers, the accomplices, the accused predator's own mother helped to cover for him, per this young lady. The manipulation and the gaslighting that people that actually come forward and say that something inappropriate is happening or something inappropriate is going on. And again, I hate this for kids, especially because kids get lied to every day. Oh, go tell an adult. Oh, go make it. And I know there are some adults that are very responsive. I know teachers, healthcare professionals, people, especially under the law, who are mandated reporters of potential harm or abuse. Yeah, they do a good job. But the regular matriarchal figure or patriarchal figure in the household, like, you go tell them, you go tell grandma that Uncle so-and-so has come into the room and touched me. You may not get nothing. In fact, you may get blamed. In fact, you may get gaslit. In fact, you may be told it's your fault. In fact, in this young lady's case, the mother, according to the woman, says, "Oh, you probably took his phone and sent these messages to yourself." Yes, because that's what a 16-year-old minding her fucking business, getting ready to go to work. That's exactly what. Oh, well, you was looking for attention. Like, all the fucking bullshit reasons that are levied against young women, especially young Black women, when they actually do tell their story, when they actually do tell what happened to them. So that story, that TikTok video, spurred me to look further. Will, if you could please pop up the article, because indeed, I believe this was back on May 3rd. Mohammed El-Amin, 36 years old, of Lansing, Michigan, arrested in part of an undercover child sex abuse sting. El-Amin, who was formerly the basketball coach at Holt High School in Michigan, has since been fired from that position. However, as it stands now, according to reports, he's not accused of abusing any of his students or anyone at the school as of yet. But what happened was police were doing an undercover child sex sting where he was contacted, or he made contact with an undercover officer posing as a teenager. And he chatted with this person, had explicit communications with this person that he believed to be, I think, a 15 or 16-year-old girl. So, and again, he was trying to pay for sex acts. I think he was also trying to pay for oral sex. Pick up the patterns, right? He was trying to pay for oral sex. Unbeknownst to him, he was talking to an undercover cop. They agreed and made arrangements to meet up so he could get said service for $50. He promised the undercover cop $50 for the oral sex and a case of, a little 6-pack of White Claw. So when Mr. El-Amin, according to police, when he arrived at the rendezvous spot and when he was arrested, he was found with $50 in his pocket and a 6-pack of White Claw. Okay. He's facing 4 felony counts related to inappropriate sex stuff with kids. And to the TikTok creator's point, what are the chances, guys? What do you think the chances are that 10 years ago, Mr. El-Amin, at age 26, whilst allegedly propositioning his teenage family member for sex, and then 10 years later, here he is allegedly seeking out sex acts with a teen person as well. You think in 10 years, he just didn't manage to follow through on what seems to be his predilection here with young women of a particular age range? You think in 10 years, let's see, he only propositioned his teenage cousin and only propositioned this person he thought was a teenager. You think in 10 years, with access to high schoolers, by the way, his cousin was correct, or rather his family member, the TikTok creator, was correct. He was a very good basketball player in the state of Michigan. He had made a number of, all-star teams in his area. He did go overseas and play ball professionally. You think in 10 years, this man hasn't engaged in any sort of, I gotta call it, and I say grape because that's what the kids are saying, because I guess the algorithms are, flagging RAPE. So in order to get around that, the young creators are saying grape. Sounds weird to me, but okay, we'll go with it. Like, you think in 10 years, this person didn't grape anybody underage or solicit sex acts from underage sex workers? I doubt it. Y'all don't believe that. I don't believe that either, because people have patterns. And let's talk about patterns as well. For what the TikTok creator said about Mr. El-Amin's mother, Mama was a little too on that. You understand? Like, from what the young lady described, Mr. El-Amin's mom, from what I heard, my opinion of what I heard, it doesn't sound like this was Mama's first rodeo. We're trying to cover up for a fucking monster. Like, Mama knew exactly what to do. Mama reassured the victim. Mama showed contempt, disgust. How dare he? Gave him dirty looks in the house. But then immediately proceeded to clean up behind him, right? Immediately proceeded to put an action into play to remove and delete any potential evidence against him in order to protect him. Because I guess it was a 26-year-old predator who needed the protection and not the 16-year-old teen who was terrified. She said she was so scared for him to come pick her up after he had sent her these horrific fucking messages. And according to her, his mama knew and covered up. And even after his arrest, perhaps demonstrating a pattern of behavior, indicating, this guy has some shit that he particularly likes from certain ages of young girls. After an arrest, seemingly confirms her story, the content creator's story. She gets harassed by her family. How dare you? How dare you say these things about him? What things about him? The truth about him? About what he did? About the inexcusable way he moved and tried to prey on his young family member? This is the levels of disgusting that we're talking about here, guys. This is the shit that I am trying to amplify. Oh, and may I say this? Also, under my Friday video, somebody left a comment. Again, I appreciate the critique because you guys are actually asking good questions here. Like, y'all not just like, oh, Kim, you suck. No, a brother asked the question, does Kim have solutions or is she just here to bash black men? Great question. So the first part of your answer, the answer is no, I do not have solutions, okay? And in the way that I don't think black people and indigenous people should be the ones that try to dismantle or abolish racism, or not just us by ourselves, right? Whites got to do it too. It's their fucking system, right? They started the shit, all right? I can't stop gender-based violence. I can't stop violence against women. I can only speak to the folks that belong to the same, to the group that a minority of that group is out here doing tremendous fuckery. I have to ask the men, you tell me what the solutions are, baby. I don't know what the solutions are. It's very difficult to try to get men to have even the conversation. I can't even conceive I have some strategies. I have some thoughts and ideas, but ultimately men are going to have to get involved here. Because the women them are out here screaming it to the fucking rafters. What have they survived? You could take that down, Will. What they have survived. You know what I'm saying? What they have endured, what they continue to endure, and what they have lived through. And everybody, I won't say everybody, but I see difficulty trying to jumpstart the conversation as to what do we do about that, okay? Because like I've told y'all, and you guys already know, this ain't about fucking Diddy. This isn't about Diddy. This is about shit like Coach Elamine. You feel me? This is the kind of everyday type of predator that lives amongst us, a wolf in sheep's clothing. When we hear, especially women and girls, make accusations, you can't just dismiss it, okay? Even if you don't 100% give it immediate credence, it bears looking into at minimum, right? Like, and when you think back about her video, the details, everybody, the times she was at work, she said, go pull the tape from 10 years ago at McDonald's. You will see me on there bawling my eyes out. Liars don't have that kind of specificity, everybody. They don't. And most trauma survivors and abuse survivors, well, maybe not say most, Abby, because I know we got Dr. Abby in here to correct me. Abby's well-versed in these things. I guess for the trauma survivors, help me out, Abby. For those that don't memory hole it or outright block it out, right? For those that actually remember their traumatic event, they remember the shit out of it, right? Like they remember details, they remember dates and times, they remember what was on TV, they remember who was in the house. Like they have a lot of details. And this young woman had a lot of details, which lends credibility to her. And I have to say this, guys, even though the iteration of Burn It Down with Kim Brown is mostly a commentary show, I am a journalist by training. So I thought about the ethics in airing her video, right? Because the person she has accused, Mohammed El Amin, has been arrested and charged with a crime. However, his mother has not been charged with anything. And I wrestled with the ethics of playing her video as she is, exposing this woman for what she says, how this woman treated her. And I thought about it and I'm like, legally, I think I'm in the clear here because I'm not making any direct accusations against that woman in particular. And I am relaying the story as told by this young creator of what she says happened to her. And I cannot say with any definitiveness, is that a word? Definition? Definitely. Damn it, we all got a little ear doctor in us. I can't say authoritatively that what happened to her. But what I can say is that she comes across extremely credible, and I believe her. And if she says that the mother did and behaved in the way that the creator says she did, I believe her on that front as well. And we got to stop. I understand that discretion is appropriate when we are levying accusations that are extremely serious and can be reputation destroying. But what I hope that we are starting to understand and learn is that most people, not all, but overwhelming majority of survivors that come forward with an accusation are usually telling the truth. And a very small percentage of them are not. And a lot of them probably wouldn't put their name and face to some shit that they lying about, right? Liars make, throw their slings and arrows under the cover of darkness, under the cover of anonymity. You don't put your whole face on TikTok, naming names, putting up your family members' pictures if you out here telling a fucking fabrication. So I want to send love to that young woman. I want to thank her for doing what needs to be done. The exposure needs to continue. It can't stop at just the likes of Diddy. It can't stop at the likes of whatever terrible person, famous or infamous is out here doing. No, bring them all out. Bring them all out. I want to see them all. I want to know all their names. I want to know what they're accused of because we need to know who the fuck we're dealing with out here in these streets. Okay. And it's unfortunate that sometimes, folks will be in a space, public, social, whatever. And in this instant era of everybody got to take a photo, I guess if you didn't take a picture at the event, I guess you wasn't there or it didn't count. I don't know. But dog, it's tough out here. Like you might be in the jam giving daps and hugs to somebody that you don't really know like that. And all of a sudden the pictures circulating on you around it, any social media talk about, don't you know what that what he did? Oh shit. People. We in new times, baby. New times. Buckle up, get ready because there's a lot more coming in 2024. Gang, I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna call it a night. And what we are going to do, I'm gonna be sure, even though I'm certain my brilliantly prepared comrades on Women's Wednesdays will likely have a story about Palestine. But in case they don't, I will bring what I was going to talk about tonight. It's 8:40. I like to turn Will loose, Will got a real job out here. So I don't want to hold Will hostage for another 30 minutes because it's getting late. I'm sure he's hungry. So we will give the update on what's happening in Palestine tomorrow on the Remix Morning Show for Women's Wednesdays over on BPM. Go set your bells and your notifications. You guys, that live number at the Remix Morning Show. Oh shit, did y'all see me tear up a little bit this morning because you niggas is awesome? Like, first of all, we had like over 800 people watching live. Whoa. And then Kamau announced that in spite of the channel's demonetization status, which I had totally forgot about until Ear Doctor mentioned it, I said, God damn it. I said, fuck. I said, we still down bad out here. God damn it. I had fucking forgot. But anyway, but Kamau said that the Patreon, you guys took that money to South Beach. No, you took the money over to Patreon and have showed up in a giant way. And I am very moved by that. Like, I am so touched. Again, we going through some things a little bit. So the fact that the people said, y'all good, we got you, and showed up and with that incredible support, I am just so grateful and appreciative and just so impressed and bewildered by the awesomeness of our shared audiences, of the remixers and the Fire Fam over here. So thank you guys for supporting BPM through the tough times, But we Jada Kissing Styles P out here, kids. We gon' make it. We gon' make it. We don't make it. What's my line in that joint? What's my favorite joint? In this case, who's the loser? Ran through enough coke for Castro to build schools in Cuba, teaching kids how to read and write and use the Ruger. Motherfucking niggas is back. Jada and P, we got water X. Let me calm down. And I'm tired of hearing about old niggas that had it. It be the same old niggas that ratted. Woo! Prophecies, y'all. That's proverbs. Them's parables right there. Fuck bars. That's parables out this motherfucker. Anyway, guys, I'll see y'all tomorrow on the BPM for the Remix Morning Show. See you back here for the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown every Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. But Twitch, I got something for y'all motherfuckers on tomorrow at BIDWKB on Twitch. I know I lied and blew y'all off last week because I'm a big jerk. And that happens. That's what happens when you're a jerk. You fucking tell lies and shit. So I lied to y'all last week, but I ain't lying tomorrow. So set your notifications on Twitch at BIDWKB sometime between 5 and 7 p.m. Eastern. June is Black Music Month, guys. And I'm going to bless y'all with my favy faves, from whom I consider to be the alpha and the omega of Black music, even though he himself was born in the 20th. I'm talking about no other than Steve Lynn Morris, aka Stevie Wonder, aka everybody's faves, okay? The Black music begins and ends with Stevie Wonder, okay? And I will explain through my playlist tomorrow when we go on a Stevie Wonder musical journey. And if you are not all the way up on Stevie Wonder, if you had bad parents out here who did not play Stevie Wonder for you growing up, first of all, my condolences. Second of all, I'm here to help. Tune in on Twitch tomorrow at BIDWKB sometime between 5 and 7 p.m. I'm going to show y'all why they call Stevie Wonder, y'all. And you need to be up on Stevie Wonder because Stevie's the greatest out here. Fuck everybody. The greatest, living or dead. The fucking greatest. Oh, and he's blind. So, that makes that makes him shitting on everybody 100 times harder because they could fucking never. Anyway, so that's tomorrow. But anyway, we'll see y'all later. Thank you so much to Will and Molly. Y'all have a good one. Hit the like button on y'all way out. Appreciate y'all. Peace. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Deuces.